Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Jenna. This is Apple Dolly Creations. I want to welcome all of you here. When you hop on, say hi so I can thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to pull you up. Maybe not. Okay, there we go. I was like, I'm not connecting. Hi, Kathy. Welcome. Hi, Carolyn. Kathy, thank you for being here. Everybody welcome Kathy. She's new to the page, and I appreciate you being here. Hi, Mary. Hey, I'm getting comments on both devices tonight. We are doing something. All the stars are lining up or something. So, oh, thank you for sprinkling. I appreciate it. So we are making a primitive scarecrow. Now, this is not the scarecrow that I had in my mind. I got home from work yesterday so exhausted I could not function. So I did not get to cut the stand and put the stand together because I was making a lot bigger one. And we're going to do that one because I'm going to make a whole bunch of stands this weekend. So I'll just have them all lined up here and then we'll just pull one off the shelf. But we are making a scarecrow. Now this is the doll body that I'm using. 9 inches. And then the legs, because we're going to put those on. So it's 14, it'll be 14 inches tall when we get it done. Oh, I appreciate that, Carolyn. You're sweet. So, I have doll bodies, a whole tote, that I just sit here and after I grunge my muslin, and I make all my dolls out of muslin. And I sit here and sew all kinds of dolls, all sizes, all shapes, and throw them in this tote. And then when I need them, I already got them. I just pull them out. Now, when I was doing shows, I came up with a system of, hi Karen, welcome, you're new too, thank you for being here. I came up with a system when I was doing all of my dolls. Hi Wanda. I would take my doll, and most of the time they're not stuffed, and I would string however many dolls of this size, of any size together, and I would string all their arms and legs together. So when I pulled this doll out of the tote, I'd pull a great big long string of arms and legs, and I would just clip them off, and I would have them. So hi Julie, how are you? So that was one way that I would help myself when I was getting ready for a show. To get ready, I would just have all this stuff ready. So, I still do that. Even though I don't do shows anymore, I still do that. Oh, thank you for sharing me. I appreciate that. So these are grunged. You can tell. Now, I only coffee stain my dolls. If I'm going to actually grunge them with the coffee and all the spices and everything, I do that as I go along because because I don't want the coffee grunge to get on all my other doll bodies. So if I'm going to actually grunge a doll, oh, I'm glad you're doing better today. Then I will do all of that, the spices as I go along. So this is what we're doing. We're going to put these together. When I'm cutting fabric, if I cut a triangle, hi Lisa, I have a plastic shoebox that I put all my triangle pieces of fabric, no matter what shape they are. It doesn't matter. Where's the other one at? It doesn't matter. A triangle. So that's what I'm using. I pulled this out of my triangle box because this is another way that I come up with kind of foggy. Okay. Sure. I hope that helps. So, that way when I'm doing something like, hi Brenda, I'm doing something like a scarecrow, I always use triangle noses. I go in there and I already have triangles cut out. I just have to choose the one that I want. Now this one, when I pulled it out, I've already done a running stitch of black embroidery floss around it. Did that help? Hi Julie, welcome. Did that help? Am I still foggy? I hope not. I have a ton of lights on. So that's what we're going to use for the nose. So can you guys see me okay? Thank you for sprinkling, Julie. Hi, Pam. Hi, Marcia. It helped? Good. Because I'm using my phone tonight, and I use my phone for work, so it possibly was, I'll have to remember to clean it, the screen. So that's what we're using. I had a customer who, at the other facility I worked at, brought me in, and if you followed me last year, maybe you remember us doing this. She brought me in this potpourri stuff. So these were all like a wood color, and we stained them. This is like, I don't know, it feels like a coconut. And then these, it was a gigantic bag. These like, and they come in potpourri. And then there was, I'm not sure what these are, but they're just solid little balls. So what I did was, last year we did this with my paint water. Now those of you that are new, we're gonna go over this. When I get down to a little bit of paint in my bottles, I put water in them and I put them in jars. And if I'm doing like, I need a lot of orange fabric. This is from last year, this time last year, because I had a gallon of paint water made orange, because I was doing a ton of pumpkins. So this is not paint, it's stain. So, hi Ronnie. So everyone that follows me knows that I make my own paint water. This is a great way to make your paint go further. Now, if you know, when you paint fabric, your fabric is really rough. When you use paint water, and I did these crows that way, it's still pliable. It's not rough. It just feels like fabric. And you can still take this and put it underneath of your needle on your sewing machine. Now, hi Kathy, if this was actually painted with the paint right from the bottle, you cannot sew this. It will break a needle. But this, the paint water stain, you can sew. So we're using this crow tonight too. Now, last year we made crows in every size. We made great big crow dolls, and we're going to get to that too again this year, because I have a request for that. But yeah, a great way to make your paint go further, stain your fabric. Now, one caution, when you're doing this, you have to refrigerate this. And this has been in my back of my refrigerator since last fall. Use a jar that has a real tight sealing lid. Do not use a pickle jar. They don't seal tight. So when you have to shake this, because it will separate just like coffee grunge does. Trust me, I had it everywhere. I had it in my hair because I used a pickle jar. So use a jar that has a tight fitting lid, because I had it on my kitchen curtains. I had down the front of me. It was a mess. Hi Colette, welcome. So you can, so this bottle is almost empty. So I will put water in this, shake it up, and put it into a jar and put it in my fridge. Now, if you're doing black mark your jar, because in the refrigerator, if you don't have it marked, it looks like coffee. So I've gotten them two mixed up too. Hi, Jody. So we are going to, let's set this all over here, get it out of our way. So I have one of these, whatever these things are. Now, Kayla from Kayla, what is Kayla's page? Stewart's Rustic Designs. If you're not following her, follow her. She's a new creator, and she does some really nice things. But she's been doing, out of oranges, she's been drying them and grunging them and making jack-o'-lanterns out of them. And she reminded me of this bag of stuff that I had from last year. So I pulled this out because she's cutting faces into hers. So I thought, what if can I cut a face into this? So I got my Dremel out, because this is like a woody texture stuff. So I did 2 eyes and a nose, and we're gonna do the mouth. And we're gonna highlight the eyes and the nose and the mouth with black paint. So, oh, there it is. So I'm using a tray, because when I did this earlier, I had this wood pulp stuff everywhere. So if you don't want to hear the noise of this, silence me for a couple of minutes. You don't drink coffee? So I'm just going to do the mouth. So there's a lot of, so I just did holes into a half circle. So we're going to highlight these. And I'm just using black paint. Where's my paintbrush? Oh, there it is. And I'm just using black paint. And all this is going to do is darken all those holes. Now, I couldn't get real precise on the nose. I wanted it to be a triangle, but because this is like a wood pulp stuff, it's sort of a triangle. So I'm just putting the paint down inside of those holes. See? So I'm just going to do the same thing with the mouth. So this bag of potpourri stuff came from Home Goods. So this I work at U-Haul. For those of you who don't know, I take care of storage. And that lady came in one day with all these sewing machines. So naturally she intrigued me. Hi, Joanne. She intrigued me, and so we got to talking. So it's primitive, it's good. So you can see it after I blackened it. But I wish I knew what these things were. It actually feels like coconut, but you get a lot of pulp. Okay, so we're gonna set this aside and let it dry. We're gonna work on our baby. So I have his clothes already cut out, and he has a flannel shirt. So this is a pattern that I've shared. I only made this one a little bit bigger because I want it bigger on him, and he has a bigger diameter body than the doll class one that we did. So I just enlarged this. So we're going to sew those. We're going to put him together. I have a bunch of scrap fabric sitting here that we can use for patches. So normally I have reminds me of Wilson. Julie, you're hilarious. I usually have a thing around my neck so you can watch me sewing. So I hope you can watch me, because I have the camera up higher. Yeah, I think you'll be able to see. Now, if you want to get rid of the comments, in the lower part of your screen, there's like a little triangle. If you press that, the comments will go away. Wilson. So I'm leaving an opening for his head. So I'm going to answer, when we finish his shirt, a question: how, if your neckline is too big, I do a running stitch. So if she hops on here, she'll be able to see how I do it, because I had a question. I do not mind any of you sending me questions about any sewing, even during the day if I'm at work. Most of the time I can stop and answer a question, and if I can't explain it like in a message, I will come home and show you. Now, I am no way near a professional sewer. I learned the basics in home ec, and I took it from there. So that has been a very long time ago. But I need to get this arm a little bit better. So when you're doing primitive, you don't have to have everything perfect. I did a doll class all last week, and I think I hit on a ton of questions that people were asking me. And on my Telegram, I shared all the patterns. So if you haven't printed those out yet, they're still there. When I share something, I never take it off of Telegram. I just leave it. Yep, 600 years. I've been sewing 600 years. I am that old. My co-workers, I work with a bunch of really young people. They can't believe that I remember when there was no internet and no Google, and, you know, when you actually had to look something up in an encyclopedia. I say, if I am that old. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh well, it'll come back. If I would have had the internet and all of this stuff, yes, I did say it. I am 600 years old. When I had my store, I could have taken my store to new heights. Yeah, right? Rummage through the library, yes. I'm surprised there's still libraries, because a lot of people don't even utilize those anymore. So when you are, let me cut these strings. Any circle, especially inside circle, you have to cut slits from the end of your fabric up to the line you sewed. And what that does, it helps your seams lay flat, especially an inside seam. So we're going to turn these right side, and we're going to start putting this little guy together. I know, console TV, yeah, and you had to go out and move the antenna to get the stations to come in right. And my dad, when he couldn't get them in right, he would put aluminum foil on the rabbit ears. Kids don't know. Yeah, everybody's house you walked into, they had aluminum foil on their rabbit ears. Yeah, my grandchildren, they look at me like, is she for real? So just like on this shirt, there's an inside curve. So we're going to memories. Yep. Every Saturday morning, wrestling came on, and my dad watched it every Saturday. And one of us every Saturday had to go out and keep turning that antenna just so he could get the station in clear. Yeah, it did come in a lot better. But who wanted to stand there and hold that for a whole show? Hi, Deborah. Welcome. We just made the clothes for our Scarecrow. So here's our shirt. There's our pants. So if your neckline is too big, just take an embroidery floss and do a running stitch around it. I do that even if it fits perfect, just because I like the way that looks. So I start out in the middle. Now the front and the back is exactly the same. So we're just doing a running stitch. Those of you that are new, I go live Monday and Friday at 7 p.m. and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Only this week I went Tuesday thinking it was Wednesday, so I did Tuesday and Wednesday this week. So I was totally confused on the video what day of the week it was. But this has been a hard week at work too, so it's a wonder I made it. Hi, Ronnie. So I left a big tail to start with, and I'm going to leave it another big tail at the end just so we can gather it. And same way around the pants. I'm going to gather this waistband. Just the same way, just a running stitch, in and out, in and out. Hi, April. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. Oh, you'd rather make the doll clothes? When I was doing shows, I would make all the doll bodies, a couple days, and then I would take a couple of days and just do the clothes, like an assembly line. I miss doing shows. I tried to get back into shows last year. Shows have changed so much since I did them before. I lost so much money last year in doing shows that I thought, nope, I'm going to do something else. So I'm working on a Shopify store if I ever figure it out. So let's get our arms and our legs. We have to paint his shoes black. Let me get a bigger brush. There we go. Because there's hardly any left in this bottle. So I'm going a little higher than what the ankle would be. So this is more like a boot than a shoe. Oh, I hope you do. If you need any help, send me a message. My WhatsApp is always below every post. So I've been getting a lot of questions about doll hair. So we're going to do a doll hair post or video. I have so many videos written down to do. If I live to be 600 years old, we won't get through them all. So you know what they say. As long as you have unfinished projects, you're not going to die. So I'm never going to die. My kids will have to put up with me forever. Stand them up right. Whoops. Missed a spot. Right there. Julie, you are in my prayers. There is quite a few of you right now that I'm praying for because you're going through difficult times or health issues. So if you ever need prayer, let me know. Our church has a prayer list and I add you to it. So when I tell you that I'm going to pray for you, I do pray for you. I might miss some message or comments there. I'm going to have to go back. So I try to keep these videos to an hour. Sometimes, you know, that doesn't happen. They're a little longer. So I tell you all that if I go too long, say, hey, time out. And I should have put gloves on, which I didn't. And they're sitting right here. Yes, I totally believe in prayer. So, if it wasn't for God, I would not be sitting here right now. Seriously, I would not. My children would have been orphans. So we're going to glue his arms and legs on. So I'm just gluing these closed. Now you can sew these on. You can glue them on. Now this one sort of has a little, comes out a little bit like for the thumb. So the thumb has to go toward the body to make it look right. Because if you put your hand down to your side, your thumb is next to your body. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue and spreading it out. Oh, I do too, Deborah. I definitely believe in prayer. Oh, you should have saved that face and used it on a smaller doll. Julie used clay and a mold to make a face for her doll, and that I loved that face, but it was too small for the size of the doll. You have to show us. So there, they're on. So let's do the legs. Where did I put them? Didn't I just have them? Oh, for heaven's sake. Every video I lose something. Huh. Okay, we will come to them again because they're not on the floor. I'm probably looking at them, y'all. They are not on the floor. Okay, we'll come to them. Let's work on his face. So we have this triangle, and we're going to glue it on. I like to do doll's noses first, because then it centers your face so you can do your eyes and mouth. That is so weird. I swear I have a gremlin that takes stuff off my table as I'm working. So we are going to use a really fine paintbrush and do his eyes. And I'm doing his eyes in black. I thought maybe they fell on the other side of my sewing machine. That is so weird. There they are. They're drying. Oh my God. Y'all didn't see, I totally forgot. I painted them. I have fibromyalgia and I have brain fog really bad right now. So, yeah. So, my paintbrush has a flat tip. So, I'm taking the paintbrush and I'm going straight up and down, making like an oval eye. And I'm just going to wiggle it back up and down to make it a little bit bigger. Looks like a duck almost right there. So I'm going to make them just a tad bigger. I have lint on it from the flannel. So I'm just taking the flat tip of my brush, going right over top of the eye and doing an eyebrow. So this will all make sense when we get it done going. I'm taking water and I'm wetting the cheeks on the fabric with a brush. Just putting water however big I want these cheeks to be. And I normally wet more than I need. I have a red paint marker. I get these from Walmart. So my comments have disappeared, y'all. And I'm just doing a little bit of a circle on both cheeks. And because you wet it and then I rub it in, it really lightens. So you don't have like a real stark, and that dries. When it dries, you cannot tell the fabric was wet. So So that finger had black paint on it. Got to get a clean finger here. So we will dry those. So for the mouth, I'm only doing like a squiggly line from cheek to cheek. And I'm using my tiniest little paintbrush to do that with. And I'm using it wet. Oh, thank you. Yeah, my comments totally went away. There they are. So I'm just doing a squiggly line around the nose and up into the cheek. So we're going to dry him. Hi, Regina. Oh, thank you for the hearts. I appreciate that. So, got to dry his feet. If you use a heat gun, make sure you wiggle it and you don't hold it like in one spot. Your paint will bubble because that's what it's supposed to do. But if you wiggle it around and move your whatever you're drying around, hi Barb, you won't bubble up your paint. Ask me how I know. Because I totally ruined a doll one time because I just held the gun in one spot. I don't know. So let's put these on. So how are you, Barb? You know what? They did an update and I lost a lot of people too. So I had to go back and refollow. I know, Jody. Stella tells me about that all the time too. But if the company calls it that, why can't I call it that? But yeah, I know, I said it. There are certain words you're not allowed to say. And I called the glue tool what it actually is. Yeah, this is a glue tool. That's a heat tool. Yeah. So, you know, I'm a creature of habit. I do things the same way all the time, you know, and it's really hard for me to remember to call that a tool, even though that's what it is. Instead, yep, that's right. That's right, Barb. So, you know, when they first started on my other page, I got kicked off for a few days because I kept saying that. I know, Jody, I totally agree. Well, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it, Julie. Yeah, painting on doll shoes are so much easier. So I'm just squeezing these to make sure it catches. So, there it is. Got it all together. Now let's dress it. Then we can decorate. We can do, that's the fun part, decorating. So I never know exactly how my dolls are going to turn out unless I'm looking at one of my patterns or a picture or something. But I always put a ton of stuff out on my table and go from there. So we're going to push this over this little guy's head. And we're going to squeeze it on. There we go. Hi, Donna. Welcome. So we're going to push this little guy's arm in. Oh, you're never late. You're never late, Donna. There's always replay. You're never late. Hi, Nia. Welcome. Yeah, if you're gluing, you got to watch the heat tool because it'll unglue whatever. So, yeah. Yep. You got to think of all those things ahead of time. Thank you, Kathy. So I'm glad you all are here. We're never late. We're never late, Barb. I know this morning, Tony drops me off at work because right now we're working with one vehicle. And he was out in the truck waiting, and I'm like, I don't even have shoes on yet. It's like, geez. It's like, he drops me off, and then he goes to his facility, and I'm in my facility, and come on, little arm. Come through there. So, see how the neckline is just a little bit bigger than we want. So that's why I did the running stitch. I'm going to pull this and tie it because he's going to have, I think I'm going to put a scarf around his neck. So I just pulled it really tight, get it where I want it, and pull it. Those aren't totally dry yet. You're decapitating. I haven't done that yet. But that's not saying that one day then we just have to make a headless horseman, right? So I haven't made one of those in I don't know how many years. But those of you that are new, we pick on each other here. So if you see a creator's page that you're not following and they're on here, please go follow them. I promote all my other creators. And if you have a page, you are more than welcome to come on under your page. I am not one of those creators who don't like other creators on my page, because I was on a lady's page. No, I did not. I'll have to go look at Kayla's. I was on a creator's page under my page, and she asked me please to go off and come under my personal page. So, yeah, I'm not like that. So I have some scrap fabrics here. So we're gonna cut these and we're gonna make patches. I have a hat too that we're gonna use. So scarecrows have patches on their clothes. So I just put a little bit of glue and then I spread it out with the tip. Give him an elbow patch. Yeah, I mean, I guess she didn't want anyone stealing her followers. I don't know. But yeah, so I thought, okay. I went off and I never went back. It's her page, so, you know, I honored her wishes. So we're going to put one on his back side. I like to do all the way around my dolls because you never know how someone's going to display it, or yes, he will be. He is a styling guy. Because you never know how, you know, if somebody buys, you never know. And when I sell my kits, I always put scraps of fabric for something like this so that somebody else can add their own patches. So I used pinking shears around the bottom of his shirt. So let's see. Let's add one more. Okay. So I have some raffia because he's got to have hair and he's got to have under his pant legs and now this is actually the grass skirt from Dollar Tree because all it is raffia, but you get a ton of it. Well, now $1.75, but so all I'm going to do is just like we make hair. And I'm going to put it around his head. And try not to stick my fingers in that glue. I'm not counting how many times I go around. I'm just doing it. Because scarecrows do not have to be perfect. So I promise you we're almost done. Debbie. Welcome. I've been writing everybody's name down because I have so many new followers that have pages. And if they, like me, you know, Apple Creations, that doesn't say what my name is. So I've been writing everybody's name down. So if all of this doesn't get caught in the glue, it will when I put his hat on him. Let's do smaller bunches for his bangs. Oh, that's fine. That's what replays are for. Yeah, I go Monday and Friday at 7, and I'm Eastern Standard Time. I'm in Middle Georgia. And then on Wednesday, I go at 4 o'clock, just in case there's something going on at church on Wednesdays. So, ouch, let's spread this out. So we're going to give him a bang cut. And I'm not sure I really should be using my fabric scissors to cut this stuff with. My husband sharpens my scissors, but still. So let's cut his bangs a little bit. There we go. It's got a little wild hair like me. So this is a piece of burlap. I cut a circle and I just took jute and I just did a running stitch all the way around just to make a hat. So we're going to put it on his head and then tie it. So I'm getting it where I think it's going to be, and then I'm just putting a little glue to hold it, and then we're going to tie it. Hi, Grace. Welcome. Thank you, Marcia. So I'm going to untwist these jute ends just to fray them a little bit. Oh, Donna, your doll turned out so cute. And you're welcome. There's lots of us that sew on here that would be glad to help if you needed help. So let's glue the back of his head. I'm going to put a little bit of fiber fill up underneath. And then glue it down. Yes, I agree with Barb. I'm glad you like it. I love sewing. If I'm having an awful day or I'm upset or something's going wrong, I sit here and it's like Calgon, it takes me away. Y'all remember that commercial? I'm showing my age. Oh, that's great, Debbie. There's where we got so far. So let's take some of this and shove it under his sleeves. We don't need a whole bunch. We just need a little bit of straw. I have glue on my fingers and everything is sticking. I'm taking all my little pieces that I cut off and I'm gluing them down. So we can trim them down if they're too long. I did see your witches. Those are adorable. I did see your witches. I saw them right as I was coming on live. I thought I have to go back and look at them. Hi, Kelly. So let's take some scraps of fabric and tie around their wrist. So if you all use broadcloth, that is just a plain cotton fabric, Michael's has it for $1.99 a yard. So that's a really good deal. So let's get to our crow and our pumpkin. They are very unique. I haven't made a witch doll for a while. I don't do scary Halloween. I mean, Barb's isn't scary. They're absolutely adorable. But a lot of people like the scary and stuff, and I don't. So there we are so far. So I went out in the yard and I cut a branch. I didn't know how long I needed. So we're going to put our crow on it and then we're going to cut it. So I'm just making a small little slit here. I left an opening in the seam, but I don't think the glue, like kind of, there we go. There it is. We're going to push that stick right into it. So he's going to hold this and he's going to hold, there we go. Now I can glue it. So we're going to put this in his hand. So he's going to be holding a crow on a stick. you, Joanne. So I'm just going to hold this for a second till that glue catches. And I'm going to take some jute and tie it around the crow. Oh yeah, I made my children's costumes. My son was into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, y'all, when that was first out. My son's 44, so, and I had all kinds of padding on him, and he won first place. And my daughter was Strawberry Shortcake, and so we'll put a little glue under that knot to hold that jute there. Oh, okay, Donna. Yeah, you pay attention to the road, not me. So there. So at between Michael's and Walmart, I picked up all kinds of flowers. So let's take a sunflower. Let's see, what else do we want here? This is lamb's ear. This is bittersweet, so let's take a couple pieces of that. Let's take a piece of lamb's ear, since I brought it in here. And let's put it on his hat. These I got from Michael's. They were $3.99 a pick. I hadn't bought flowers for a while. I could not believe how much flowers went up. So there's this hat. So let's get our pumpkin, and we did. Whatever this thing is, this pod. And I put some tiny beads like we did the other night on a piece of wire. And I drilled some holes on the side to make a hanger or a handle. Puff the Magic Dragon. I remember that one. I'm looking for the hole I drilled. There it is. Yeah, I used to make all, I made my grandchildren's too. I made an elephant for my one granddaughter. It was absolutely adorable. I don't know what my daughter ever did with that. So there we go. Okay. So we're going to stick that in his other hand. Sticks his shirt. You want a crow costume. So let me take another piece of jute. And I'm just going to tie it right around the handle. Well, there we go. I'll say if I can grab a hold of it, we will. And I'm going to untwist these also. So he needs something around his neck. So let's take and make him a tie. This is way too long, but see how long we need this. That's too long. There we go. Let's tie this around his neck. That's better. So there we go. Yes. There's his pumpkin and his crow. Now his crow has tiny little bead eyes. Thank you. Thank you. So there's the top of his hat. There's the back of him. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Julie. So God bless all of you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will be back Monday night at 7. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope you all have a great weekend. If you're in Atlanta area, there's a hot air balloon show at the drag race place. Hi, Tanya. Oh, thank you. Your crow dolls just need clothes. Oh, you'll have to show me. Kelly, I had a doll class all last week. I went from putting the pattern on the fabric all the way through. I gave out a ton of information. The patterns, the doll, and the clothes is on my Telegram. So you could go there, and it's a whole week. Every night I went live and I did. Thank you, Grace. I every night. So, you know, if you want some help, you can hand sew it if you don't have a machine. But it's a very, very simple head and bodies one piece. You can do it. You absolutely can do it. I agree with Barb. You can do it. We're always here to help if you have any questions. God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend.